Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lumio Global event, where we will be providing fun, fresh PD opportunities highlighting how Lumio can provide a fluid workflow that benefits teachers and students. We will show you how to create lessons and activities focused on a variety of topics, including classroom instructional strategies. My name is Sarah Ambato, and I'm an education solutions consultant from Monterey, California. Great to see everyone here coming from so many different places. This webinar, Smart Strategies, Maximizing Small Groups with Lumio, features Franny Aida, Educational Technology Integrator from Richmond, Virginia. We encourage participation. If you have any questions, please ask them in the chat box during the presentation, and we will either integrate them into the flow or hold them to be answered at the very end during a Q&A session. We will be sharing resources from today's webinar in the chat. Also, for participating today, a certificate will be provided after you complete a brief survey. So after the end, after Franny gives her presentation, just hold off and wait to complete the survey so you can get credit. All right, at this point, I am going to turn things over to Franny so that we can dive into today's webinar, Smart Strategies, Maximizing Small Groups with Lumio. Take it away, Franny.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm excited to be presenting at Lumio Palooza today. So a little bit about me. As Sarah said, I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I am an educational technology integrator, which is like a tech coach. We have our own fancy name for it. And I linked my Twitter X account as well as my email here. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And I just got my Lumio certified trainer, so a little plug for that. If you really like Lumio, that was a very beneficial course that I took, and I uploaded my final application and submitted it, and now I got my little badge, so I'm really excited. So a little bit more about me is I started as a high school French teacher, and about, let's see, 6 years ago, 2018 is when I became a technology coach, and since then I've been in elementary school. So a lot of the strategies that I talk about today, I've been in various elementary schools and learned a lot about how to teach reading and math and using technology to infuse your classroom instruction. And so that is my background, and welcome. Okay, so we're going to go over differentiation and best practices for your small groups. We're going to talk about specifically how to use Lumio in your small groups, and then I can even at the end go over how to build one of the activities that I am going to show. And our learning target will be, I can enhance my small group stations by differentiating using Lumio. Okay, so I want to start kind of with the pedagogy here. Small group instruction, a lot of us talk about teaching in small groups. It comes from the RTI, the response to intervention methodology, which is where you start on the bottom in tier 1, which is your core classroom instruction, your, whole group instruction, you might call it. So let's see. That is, teaching to the whole class, introducing concepts and things like that. Then the second tier 2 instruction is your targeted small group instruction. So this is where you have like intervention time, or in Richmond, we also follow RTI, kind of morphed into MTSS, which is multi-tier system of support. And so, but we still call these tier 1, tier 2 instruction, and we have a lot of set time for small group instruction in our schools. So our elementary schools, we have math whole group instruction, math small group instruction, reading whole group instruction, reading small group instruction. So we have dedicated time every day to do math and reading in small groups. And so when you think of a small group, you're taking your class, let's say it's a nice even number, like 18 kids, you're gonna call 6 to you, and then you still have 12 kids in your class, 12 students. They kind of need to be self-directed, right? They need to have something to do that they can complete on their own. So that is where we're going to focus our time today. What can those other students do that is self-directed while you are working in your small group with your students? So, like I said, we have lots of different ways that small groups can look. You might have, you pull a group over with students, and that is your teacher-directed group. Then you might put some students on technology, some kind of independent technology, and you might also do hands-on activities. So I want to know if you are in my lesson here on Lumio. I see about 47 of you are, so exciting. I'm going to start this shout it out, and I just want to know, what kind of activities are your students doing in small groups? What does that look like for you? And you can categorize them in your teacher station, technology, hands-on, or other. And if you haven't joined us on the Lumio, you can put it in the chat as well. Awesome. Great. I see people in the chat. They're saying right pair share, iPad, learning games, seat work. Reading comprehension questions, grammar scavenger hunt. Wow, lots of things. So in our technology session, just to go through here, we have spelling games, read works lessons, teach your monster to read. I've never heard of that. That sounds fun. Dreambox is a common one, IXL. This person uses Lumio, Kahoot, Edpuzzle, Blookit, Gimkit, awesome. Huh. This teacher looks like has their students creating Google slideshows. So there's lots of different ways, lots of different activities that students can do in small groups. And I've categorized them here, and you've given me lots of awesome examples. All right, we're going to keep going. So again, we have our teacher-directed station. This is where you're pulling a group over, you're either giving them interventions or different sorts of remediation, and you can either pull them into small groups to do assessments. Maybe students need read aloud or something like that. And so you can, this is the group that's working with the teacher. You have small group time with them, which is very beneficial for students who need extra help. That's why it's built into our day. Then you have some students who might be at their desk, independent, and you've given them some sort of technology. You put them on a personalized learning program, maybe. something like iExcel, iReady. I saw all sorts of ones on there. Or you can give them activities that you yourself have built, such as an activity in Lumio. And then a lot of times in elementary, we see lots of hands-on activities as well, cutting, sorting, matching, worksheets, whiteboards, all kinds of different activities students can do with their hands. And we can kind of mesh those two together as well in Lumio. So we kind of talked about the why of small groups. Now we're going to get into the how by talking about differentiation. This is a pretty big buzzword. It's been around a long time. We use it a lot, but what does it really truly mean? What is the point of differentiating? So differentiation is changing what we teach or how we teach so that it meets the needs of all the students in your class. So you have 18 different students. To go back to that number, we would need to meet all of their needs so that they can reach their learning targets. In differentiation, tasks need to be engaging, interesting, challenging, because otherwise you're not meeting the needs of students. They are, they're young students. They need to be engaged in the learning to actually acquire what you're trying to teach them. So you're going to focus on key concepts or skills from the unit in your small groups. This isn't the time to introduce new material per se, unless you're doing kind of the backwards learning, but you're going to have them practice what they just learned in Tier 1 instruction. So how do you differentiate? There's actually 3 different ways that Tomlinson outlined differentiation, and the teacher can change either the content. So you might need to change the content of what students are learning. You can change it to more difficult content or more simple content based on the needs of the students. For example, you might have gifted students who can accomplish a little bit more during that time. And so you're going to challenge them to extend their learning in their small group. You might have students who are a little bit slower, and so you need to give some scaffolding and just slow down what they learn. Okay, that's one way to differentiate. You can also differentiate the process, which is the activity that students are doing. So you have one group, that's kind of the idea of small groups. You have one group doing one thing with the teacher, you have another group on technology, another group, cutting and pasting. These are all, but they're all working on the same concept, same skill. So you've differentiated the process. And then another thing is you can differentiate the product of how students show their learning. So maybe one student wants to write out what they've learned. One student can, say it. One student can make a Google slide like we gave earlier. All of differentiation is rooted in assessment though. So what you do is, it can be formative assessment. So just very quick, simple checks for understanding of your Tier 1 learning. You say, okay, this student's not understanding, they need a little more help. These students got it, so they just need to start practicing on their own. You use the data that you gather in your assessments to then create your small groups. And that's what we mean by rooted in assessment. Okay, and then once you've differentiated, you've created different activities, you've split up your groups, who's going to be doing what, you're going to set up your groups. First, if you're using technology at all, you want to make sure that you model it in the whole group setting. So, we're in July here. You probably don't have a lot of students in front of you, but if you're in a different part of the world, maybe you do. Regardless, you're not going to start day one on getting students in Lumio on their own group. You're going to kind of introduce it whole group. If you have a smart board, you can model on your smart board, or just making sure to give students lots of coaching and practice before you let them go into that self-directed small group learning. Then you can group your students based on their needs, based on the data that you saw. The students don't even have to know what the groups mean. So here I gave you an example. The jaguars, if we were doing rainforest. Jaguars, you're going to be with Miss Aida, you're at the kidney table. Tree frogs, you're going to be on Lumio slides 1 through 4. And tarantulas, you're on slides 5 and 6. So these students, it's all the same lesson. The slides are, there's 6 different slides, but one group has to do 4 different things. One group has only 2 things to do. Based on your data, and the students they're self-directed. And then once you've built your slides into Lumio, you launch the student-led activities if you have differentiated multiple groups on Lumio. And since you are with your own group, then the self-directed learning has to be on student-led, because you can't direct the slides as well. Okay. So let's take a look at what Lumio station might look like. Just to recap, kind of, our station goals for Lumio is that it reinforces that tier 1 instruction, that whole group instruction. You differentiate it. It could be collaborative. You could have your small group, your jaguars, working together, or it could be independent. You do need something to hold the students accountable. So I'm going to talk about this, but either you are gathering data from them, are answers right? Are they getting answers in practice right or wrong? Or you're gathering some sort of artifact from them. Because if you leave the students to their own, you have no evidence that they've completed the task, and they might be actually reinforcing misconceptions. So you want some sort of data or something for them to turn in. And that's why our best practices for small group learning, especially on technology, is that you either want it to be self-correcting or create an artifact of learning. So I'm going to talk about within Lumio which parts are self-correcting and which parts create an artifact of learning, so something that they would turn in that they've completed to show their learning. All right. So now I have a whole class whiteboard here. What I'd like for you to do is take a sticker from the side. So these have no particular meaning, but just grab a sticker from the side and show which activities here in the Lumio templates that you think best fit in the self-correcting category. This is fun, and it gets busy very quickly. Okay, so I don't know if there's really a consensus here. I would say for self-correcting, we have our game-based activities. Let me go ahead and stop it, go to the next slide. Here we go. Our game-based activities are self-correcting. That's what I'm going to concentrate on. You do have responses which are self-correcting. However, if you notice here, it says teacher-led, and I really want to concentrate on the ones that you can do student-paced, because that is what your students will most likely be doing. If you can't switch the slides as they go, then you want to give them the student-paced, student-led option. Okay, and don't worry, we'll get to a lot of these ready-made resources in the next part. So if you were to click on that game-based activity template, you will see all of these different options available to you. So I'm going to kind of go over each one, what they kind of look like, and if they are self-correcting or if you get student data from them. So fill in the blanks first. Yes, it's, whoops, got to go back here. Yes, I want to delete that. Okay. Fill in the blanks is self-correcting. You can put in some kind of block of text and students drag the words or numbers into the blanks. And this is a good activity that is self-correcting. You can set it to correct as they drag the answers in or to correct at the end. So that's a quick one. Game show is also self-correcting. It's like multiple choice questions. It's set up in this fun little way, and students like to do that. So that's a good little game for them. Match them up. Students match related items. So you have two sets of something, whether it's words or pictures, something that you're going to match pairs. And the awesome thing here is you get that student dashboard. So this is one of the activities, match them up, where you get data based on the whole group, how the whole group performed. You can see what kind of patterns there might be, what you might need to address in tier 1 instruction again, or and then you also get it student by student. So we'll take a look at one of the student dashboards soon. Monster quiz, also self-correcting. However, I'll note here that it is a teacher-led activity, so I don't recommend that for the small groups. Speed up is another kind of quiz type of game, multiple choice. They true or false questions, and they're supposed to go quickly. Team quiz is also teacher-led, so I'll give it that self-correcting because they get the feedback, but it's also teacher-led. Flip out is where you kind of create little cards and the students can click on them to flip it over. So it's like one-to-one correspondence. You could do letter names, all kinds of things, even math problems. Label reveal is where you have kind of like parts of an image that are labeled and students use their memory and deduction. They click on the little parts and it gives them information. So that is self-correcting. Memory match, also self-correcting, kind of like the game memory, improves concentration in short term. And you can make it a little bit more challenging by making it, you could do like equivalent fractions or something like that for the memory matching. Rank order is something that like a list that you have to rank of some sort, and this is self-correcting as well as you get that student dashboard, you get that data back as the teacher. And same with super sort. Super sort is again 2 categories. Students classify things and sort them into 2 groups. So correcting and student dashboard. And then finally we have word search. if you just want to use like vocabulary words or something and create a word search. That is also self-correcting. So lots of awesome fun games. I'm going to go through now and model a few of these and talk about how I've used them in the elementary classroom. So first is flip out. If you're signed on, you can go ahead and play with these, but I really just did a very like primary, pre-reader level here. The students have images on the front, so eagle, and they have to match it and remember what the beginning letter is. Orange is up. Ice cream is I, so we would be working on vowels here. So here, it's self-correcting because it tells you the right answer. However, there's no accountability feature where students, where I can see if it's right or wrong, where I get any data, and then there's nothing that the students create with this. So this is just a very like warm up, rudimentary activity. I would definitely add extra activities if you were going to do this in a small group setting. Okay, next we have fill in the blanks. This one I set up a little bit of government here, and I set it up to be, you have to put all your answers in first, and then the students can check the answers. So when you set up an activity like this, you can either get immediate feedback where it says yes or no, or you can just check your answers and it gives them that feedback. Again, I as the teacher don't get any feedback here though. Okay. And next is rank order. So this is one of those 3 activities that does have a dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll model it just to show you what it looks like. I took the planets. I want you to list them from closest to the sun to furthest in outer space. So drag and drop them here. Oh, thank you. What's the activity started?
Go to that little backwards arrow there for a second. Go back.
This one?
Go back to that activity, and then go ahead to model. And then click that, yep, that one.
There we go. No, it says it's ended.
You know what? For time's sake, I think we can just move on. There we go.
Yeah.
Awesome. There we go. There's always a quick fix available.
Right. Just gotta find where it is. Okay, so if you're seeing here on my dashboard, if you have, you know, both your windows up, I'm seeing everybody completing it or in progress. Once you complete it, it will show this bar here filling up. And once I have a few more completed, I can show the results. I can also click here and look in my student progress.
And while you're taking a look at that, there's a really great question in the chat that I would love to call out in regards to things that won't work in student-led or teacher-led. So the only things that are not going to work in student pacing mode are any group activities. So that would be a group workspace. And then specifically the games that won't work are Monster Quiz and Game Show, because those are group games. But these individual games, those will in fact work in student-led mode.
All right, so even if you haven't finished, take a look here. You can see I get an average score for the students, or for the class rather, the most frequent incorrect answers, and how much time students are spending on the activity. So really good data here, and this will be available when I come back to my computer to look at too. And I can see each student. And I can even see how long it took them. They got 8 of 8. So, all right. Thanks for humoring me on that one. I'm going to model a matching up. Will the dashboard ever go away? So, yes, if you restart or change your Lumio link in any way, like end or edit the activities, edit the slides, then it will clear out the data that you have. Okay, so here's a match 'em up. You can see here I did some math problems. So it doesn't have to be like a one-to-one. It's going to create pairs, and then at the end, I again can check all of my answers. So, and this is one where students can see students get the results and teachers get the results. All right. And like we said, for the sake of time, we're going to keep going and we'll do a super sort. This is the one where you have 2 categories. Again, I started, okay, that one's working. I did a greater than half, less than half to do kind of a higher level, you know, your 4th or 5th grade that your students could do.
Hey, Franny, quick question.
Oh, sure.
Is this an activity that was ready-made that you found in the Lumio library, or did you create this yourself?
I have created all the ones.
Awesome.
Here.
Perfect.
Mhm. There we go. This one does give them immediate feedback. And so it's just, it kind of bounces back or it disappears if it's correct. So I get that bounce back. All right. So to recap, all of those awesome, fun Lumio games, they allowed my students to practice their skills that we learned in tier 1 instruction or whole group instruction. They got immediate feedback because it was self-correcting, and they clarified misconceptions because they knew if they were right or wrong. All right, let's talk about the other portion, which is artifacts of learning. So again, maybe your students aren't going to get immediate feedback from these, but they're going to create something and kind of turn it in for you to check. Let's see, I think I have this. No, I don't. Okay, so which ones, put it in the chat. Which templates or ready-made resources do you think best fit artifacts of learning? Okay, I see graphic organizers, manipulatives, graphic organizers, response, questions and reflections, shout it out, graphic organizers. Yes, so I think the 2 that I use the most often are your graphic organizers and manipulatives. And let's talk about why. So manipulatives make learning hands-on. So the students are taking objects on the screen and moving them around. It takes abstract thinking and makes it more concrete for them. And it represents concepts in more than one way, which helps them deepen their understanding. So if they heard you and then they're able to apply what they learned by manipulating a worksheet of some sort, then they are going to have better recall. And how do you accomplish this in Lumio? A lot of times using the infinite cloner tool and the magic converter. So here's one that I created, an individual student handout. Okay. There are 163 cars in a parking lot and 87 free spaces. How many cars can the parking lot hold? Solve the equation using blocks and write the numerals below. So you can see I forgot to clear this one out. So it still has the problem here. We're using these blocks just like you would have in your classroom, and especially if you are doing any sort of hybrid learning or online learning, these manipulatives with these blocks are going to be really awesome. So you want them to represent 163, they're doing addition, then pull 87, and they can even just put the answer here. And then they would turn it into use. So this is my teacher activity, but I can go in here, I can look at someone else's and see how they're doing and kind of check on my students if I want. All right. Okay. Another thing is the group workspace. So if I wanted to, instead of just having individual students, if I wanted them to work collaboratively, I could create a group workspace and give them something like you see here, which is where I have them doing. Oh. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a workspace to show you. You're going to work in a team to place a red circle on every factor of 4, a blue circle on factors of 5, and green circles on every factor of 11. So I see some of you are picking up those circles I placed, which is fine, but these circles are infinitely cloned, which means you will never run out, which is a super fun part of Lumio. How fun. Okay. I know I'm running short on time, so I just want to keep going. Here's another handout that I've done. This is differentiated for students. It's an individual handout, but one thing to note is this icon here in the corner means that I've recorded audio directions. This is going to be good for your students who maybe need read aloud. Maybe they're pre-reading students, so kindergarten and first. You can even use the letters play and like record. I recorded a spelling test here, but your students in kindergarten and first can do activities without being able to read directions because you can record directions. Same for English language learners and all kinds of students. So, all right, you also picked up on graphic organizers. Why we use them? Because they help represent students thinking visually. It helps them like kind of connect ideas and yeah, like take something from their brain and organize it. That's why it's called a graphic organizer. So you do need to select organizers that fit the task, and there are lots of templates in the library. I love all the ones that Lumio offers, and this is a good way to scaffold support for your students. So let me give you some examples here. Another group workspace. Okay, and I'll pull up another one. So in this one, I have the students reading an informational text, and then this graphic organizer was created for me in the library, in the template library, and I just added some text here and made it into a group workspace. Very little prep for high reward here. Same concept here. We have a pre-writing graphic organizer where students, this one would be individual. Students would map out their thesis statement and supporting details online on Lumio rather than on paper. Okay, so with the little time we have left, I do want to show you how to create a quick activity. Here, I've outlined how to create a small group activity in 3 steps. First, you're going to choose your template, whether you're going to use one of the gamified Lumio activities. Are you going to use a manipulative or a graphic organizer? You're going to come up with your problem that the students are going to solve or whatever prompt you have. You can add your text, use the infinite cloner tool, insert audio instructions. All of these are great ways to differentiate. And then you can magically convert it for student use. You have the individual handout, group workspace, and whole class whiteboards, which I modeled all 3 of those today. So I have, okay, I don't have responses, so we're good. Which small group activity would you most like to see a demo for in the next like 2 minutes? You ended.
Yeah, I was going to say, try resetting the activity
There we go.
and then click start. Perfect.
All right, B is winning, so I'm gonna go ahead and get to B. So I do need to edit my lesson because when I tried earlier today, let me just try. Okay, so we want to see a manipulative. I think it's gonna pull up the lesson I'm in. Yeah. Oh, maybe not. So let's try. We're gonna hit new. Perfect. And manipulative. You can see all of the different awesome templates that they have set up here in Lumio. So the one that I love is the fraction bars. I'm going to collect or select fraction tiles, click add.
And Franny, once that page loads, if you could also show the magic wand at the top right of that page. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So I'm going to add my text of my problem. I'm not gonna edit it just for time's sake, but I'll be like, show two equivalent fractions to 4/5. Okay, and then I'm gonna use, so I've set up the problem. All of these are already infinitely cloned. So ideally my students are gonna drag up some fifths, or I would show the fifths, however you wanna do it. And then I'm gonna click on the magic wand here and convert the page to either an individual handout, so each student gets their own, a group workspace, or the whole class whiteboard where everybody's doing it at the same time. Generally, you're gonna do one of these two, unless your students are really well trained. So I'm gonna convert to an individual handout and then it's all set. There we go. Come back here. All right, that is the end of my presentation. Thank you all so much for being here. Do we have any questions lingering that didn't get answered? What do I select to convert it to an individual page? So in the corner, when you're in the editor, there's a little magic wand. And you click on the magic wand and you have the option to do an individual handout, as well as group workspace and then whole class whiteboard.
And then also you can do this on the fly teaching, as I like to say, because I always get that group of students that really benefit from me showing them and giving them instructions first and then converting it to an activity. So you can do that when you're also in presenter mode. So Franny's going to go to the top left of her screen, which has got those two little people. And then right over here, right on the fly teaching, she can also convert it right here to an individual handout, group workspace, or whole class whiteboard.
So Veronica has a quick question. She's switching from Lumio to Nearpod and would like to know best practices on handling multiple classes since the work disappears when it gets reset or restarted. So my suggestion would be to create a copy of your lessons based on how many periods you're teaching. So if you have 5 periods you're teaching, create 5 different lessons and just rename that copy to period 1, period 2, and so on and so forth. Then that data will save and you don't have to reset anything.
The magic wand, you see it in editing mode. So I'd have to get out of here and go into editing. But if I'm already presenting, just like Misha was saying, you click the little people icon and it shows up in the middle here.
Paula, the link does not expire or anything. As long as the teacher has not deleted the file, which I don't see why they would, unless I did it on accident, that link will stay active.
I also wanted to share the resources we have, just in case, but you should be getting the teacher file for this whole lesson. If it's something that you want to use, please do. And thank you again so much for being here.